my veins. Blue and one eye, white and blue in my brain. I'm bulldog, that's my breed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Inside the Kennel podcast, the podcast that tells you everything about what's going inside the magical Doggies kennel. In this special episode, folks, we're doing a review of the last 4 rounds. That's going to be interesting because Dougie Hawkins made some big, grand promises about what was going to happen after round 4. And we're going to do a very quick review of our round 5 clash against Port Adelaide in Port Adelaide, Ground Adelaide. So that's going to be a big one. Dougie Hawkins, welcome to the program, Dougie.
Mattie.
You're at, mate.
Hey, mate.
How are you, boys?
We're awesome, Doug. We're fantastic, and you know what? We were absolutely up and about, weren't we? About 4 weeks ago, thinking. Well, I think you made the statement we're going to win 4 games. The first 4, we got as good a chance as any, and we believed that as well. We thought the same. We didn't get off to the start we expected.
Bit of a shaky start, wasn't it, Matty, Paul? Bit of a shaky start for the boys. In the Melbourne game, we got a good touch-up. Who got us the second round, Matty? I'm just refresh me.
Saints.
Yeah. St Kilda.
St Kilda.
They're on top of the ladder, St Kilda. Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So that's not too bad then. That's not too bad if they touch us
I
up.
agree. After they've won their 4 rounds, and you're right. I mean, the fans were going crazy. We lost to St Kilda. How could we lose to those guys? But
yeah.
We're on top of the ladder, so that loss in context is not as bad as it seems. I don't know if you agree with that, Matty, but it's not as bad as it seems.
Well, I think if you just look at the raw numbers, it's probably not as bad as it seems. That game was particularly distressing with how it came about, and I think rightly a lot of supporters were concerned. I think our supporters and footy supporters in general probably get a little bit too emotional, and they jump at shadows, and the worm can turn pretty quickly, and just like a bolt of lightning, something sparked us in round 3. Doug?
It did, Matty. It did, Paul. And you know what? The media and some past players of opposition clubs attacked Luke Beveridge. They put a lot of pressure on Bevo, and against obviously the Brisbane Lions at Marvel. Right. This playing group, let me tell you, boys, this playing group was under enormous pressure. If you're playing for your coach, this is what happened. You guys know this. Right. This is what happened through the media. Or Bevo on the outer. If the players don't step up against Brisbane, guess what? Bevo's under enormous pressure. And you know what they did? They played for their coach and played for their own selves, and they stepped up. And don't you worry about Brisbane. They're a very good side, Brisbane. And they played okay against the Bulldogs at Marvel. We just played better, and we played for themselves, and they played for their coach. That's what they did. They played.
Dougie, I reckon Libba put it beautifully. We had a recent interview with Libba, as you know, and he just talked about that DNA. He said he knew the DNA was going to come out. He knew it was there, and I thought he put it beautifully. That is in the DNA to come back and play for Pride, play for the Western Suburbs.
Exactly right, boys. So Matty and Paul, I think that the round 3 win against Brisbane was like an 8-pointer, if that makes any sense. And you know what it was against Richmond? It was a gutsy win, wasn't it? I mean, we had them on the ropes. We let them off the ropes. They could have easily just went bang, and we stood up. And again, the captain that day, retract that. And that day, the Bont against Brisbane, that was Ted Whitten senior stuff.
Phenomenal.
Follow me. It was follow me. The Bont was Ted Whitten, and I don't know, I'm not say this lightly either, because EJ is obviously probably the greatest player that we've had. And this young bloke, Bontempelli, he may become the greatest player that we've ever had. So that was EJ Whitten stuff. Follow me, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And he did it again against Richmond too, to a lesser degree, but still he was just outstanding. And again, as young Thomas Liberatore has been absolutely super, and he's been fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Dougie, I don't think Bond probably necessarily wants to play this way. I mean, I think he'd probably want to be more on the outside and getting the ball and things going his way. I've never seen him so physical. I've never seen him play so physically each game. He's a big man. He's 6'4", but he's magnificent, isn't he?
You're right, Paul. And, some of his tackling was just super. Some of his tackling and locking in, and his attack on that loose footy, which is normally, Libba or normally Libba's go. That's his go all the time. And McRae to a certain lesser degree. But the Bont's leadership, boys, has just been absolutely outstanding. And is that a fair call? Been outstanding.
I think so. I've as you said, like he's bringing everybody with him, and it's just sublime to watch when you see a man at the peak of his powers just command and turn the direction of games really. I just hope he can continue this vein of form in the next few weeks, because we really need him.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know, boys, how Sam Darcy's been playing in the Footscray VFL side. I was a little bit surprised that he was gone after round 2. Remember, we only kicked 5 goals. We kicked 4 goals in 20 minutes. And the delivery in our forward line against St Kilda was ordinary.
Yeah.
So the kid was probably, I think he's a little bit stiff.
Yep.
But what do you do? They've won 2 games. So maybe not his fault that we lost those games, but maybe it's the right call by Bevo as a kid, young fella. Go back. Sam, play a few games in the Magoos, and then we'll bring you back when you're ready to come back.
Well, we were speaking, weren't we, about the 4 tall structure, and could that work? Can it be sustainable? And Bevo sort of, we were really excited because what we saw in the North Melbourne last practice match was really ominous. But Bevo said just be cautious about it. It might work some days. It's it might not. So they're keeping an open mind to it, and maybe it's more structure based than Sam himself. And Pat, he'll certainly be back. He kicked 3 goals in the VFL this the week just gone, and look sharp at times, particularly in the torrential rain conditions. So he'll be back. We just got to bide our time, and in the meantime, hopefully our 3 tall forwards get the job done.
Yeah, I think young Westy too, boys, was a little bit stiff after that St Kilda game. I thought it was a bit unlucky because again, only that 5 goals that was kicked, and it wasn't his fault that we actually lost. But that young boy comes in, the young kid Jones adds that little bit of spark, doesn't he? Got that little bit of flair about him, and so I thought Westy was a little bit stiff as well.
Look, he would have been great. I was at the game. Dougie would have been great up with that weather. So was McLean, who picked up 45 possession in the reserves, but Westy would have loved that. But I tell you what, Arthur Jones really adapted his game well. He wasn't so much dangerous around goals, but he moved up the ground, defended really well, put pressure on. He sort of played a very consistent 4-quarter game of footy, but I thought he adapted his game really well.
Looks like he'll be staying, Paul. It looks like he'll stay in that side, obviously, now. The boys keep winning and he's going along and doing his job. And now it's up to the boys like Toby McLean has had that 45 or whatever it was last week. Now to keep, he might have to do that again, Toby, and not come back in and do that again. But I think McLean, I like McLean. I think he's a terrific player. And if I was Bevo, which I'm not, he should be coming back into this side this week to play on Port Adelaide over there in Adelaide. And I can't believe they're $1.50, boys. They're $1.50. We're $2.60.
No,
we beat them in a prelim 2 years ago by about 80 points, wasn't it?
Yes.
Good point.
What's changed?
They're not playing great
ground.
Footy either, they're not playing great footy. They're not playing great footy either. I know they have over Sydney, but
I reckon we'll go over there and give them a shake-up. We'll give them a bit of a touch-up over there. You watch our boys that come to play, big crowd, atmosphere's going to be fantastic. I think Essendon and Melbourne playing before the Bulldogs and at the Adelaide Oval. There's 2 games going to be played, so that'd be fantastic.
That'd be interesting seeing us share the rooms with the Bombers, as a changeover from one game to the next. I could see a couple of hip and shoulders on the way through up the sales race.
Would have been in the 80s, let me tell you.
Who in particular, Mattie, are you talking about?
You know what? I reckon probably Little.
Not Jake Stringer, are you?
Oh, yeah. Bring that on.
He's going right, Jake, too. He's come back, kicked a few goals the other week, so he looks like he's back in a little bit of touch.
Jake Stringer's been subbed out with a bad shoulder, even before the game starts. What's happened to Stringer? He's holding his shoulder.
Yeah, brilliant. And you've probably seen as well that there's a really important player or a couple that are likely to return this week. Obviously, with Alex Keith being severely concussed in that collision, it looks like Gardy will come back, Ryan Gardner, which is a really fantastic like-for-like replacement. We wish Keithy all the best, but I think Gardy will be a really important addition to that team. Or Buku Kamas is another one who might be a really agile kind of replacement. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, Gardner coming back. Boys, I hope I say this the right way. I thought Keith was a little bit silly. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, you know, when you're going back, something's coming. I just don't think he showed enough protection for his own safety. Is that, if, you know, you put your arm up or you should, you know, I would have, if I'm going back into, and I know someone's coming, he would have knew someone's coming.
Right.
I think he went in very blind, just very blind. Does that make sense, Paul, Matty?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a heavy hit, obviously. We saw him hit the ground. He's hitting the ground, all that sort of stuff, and we don't like seeing anyone get concussed. But I just thought he didn't protect himself well enough. I felt that. Is that fair? Is that fair?
Yeah, look, you know, he's a courageous...
Good courage, but half dumb, I thought. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's hope he's okay. But you know, look, I think Keithy, as you say, he'll be a you know, he's an important player moving forward. So let's hope things work out for him. But
been playing well, Matty, and Paul. It's been going all right. Keith looks fitter, looks sharper. He's going okay.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
he's going to be important to us.
Wish him well. Wish him all the best.
With the intercept marking, Dougie, Matty, what are your thoughts on? Well, you know, there is talk about Akama's coming in as an intercept marker, but he's been playing up forward in the VFL. So, have we got an interceptor? What's our situation there?
Paul, yeah, good question. Yeah, good question. You know, does Gardner go back and the boy Jones Liam Jones? No, he can play up the ground a bit more. Play Gardner back deeper.
Yep, absolutely. What about the forward pressure, Dougie? It's funny how you sort of got a cluster of players like McNeil, Garcia, Vandermeer, probably Arthur Jones at the moment's got that role, and then you've got your harden up players like McComb, McLean, and West sort of fighting for positions, isn't it? So it's quite interesting about what's the right balance to have at the moment, do you think?
Well, Paul's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah,
a tricky one. You know, they're winning a couple of games, and you don't change too much. Even if you're bottom five, which they are probably the bottom 5 or 6 in our team, which can be changed around because there's not much difference, is there? Is that a fair call? There's not much difference between those 3 or 4 names that you've named, Paul. So the pressure just because the boys keep winning. Well, I don't know if you're going to make many changes, are you? How do you boys see Rory Lobb going at the moment, number 7, our number, me and Westy? How do you rate his performances?
Well, he's been battling an ankle injury, isn't he? I'm not sure if you're aware, Doug, but just before the round 1 match, he tweaked it a little bit at training, and he had to have a shot, and he was really touch and go whether he was going to play, and he said, you know what, I'm playing, and you know, he had to have another shot at half time in that game, so it really did hinder him. Obviously, he missed round 2, and you know, so coming back the last 2 weeks, I think he's had important moments. And I reckon that's going to keep building. The thing that's important about him, he takes his chances. He's a beautiful kick. He's kicked a couple of goals. He's kicked 3 goals in the last 2 games. And, you know, I think we can only continue to see more of that. The thing that he does do, he gives Timmy English a chop out. And then when English goes forward and rests, you know, he can take a mark and kick a goal. But also he just takes away a really important tool to allow Chamara and Norts off the chain. So I think he's vital, and I reckon his performances will keep improving.
Yeah, I think, Matty, you're right. I think he was okay against Richmond. What I want to see from him, Paul, and Matty, what I want to see from Rory Lobb is that when the ball comes into the forward line and there's no Norton or Jamar around you, you know what? Launch yourself. You go at that footy 180%. It may be the ankle. It might have been the ankle, Matty, the last few weeks. But now, if he's back to some sort of cherry ripe ankle-wise, mate, just attack the footy. Just go and attack the footy. Don't stand there and push and shove. You go and you make that footy your footy, I reckon.
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree with that, Dougie. But, yeah, again, getting what Matty said, he can kick a goal. He kicked a brilliant little goal side of the boot. So he knows where they are, and he knows how to get them, which I think he's dead right.
Yeah. The other thing to say, Paul, and we had a chat off air. There's a couple of players who are itching to come back in. Obviously, Taylor DeRay to replace Crozier is a like for like, very absolutely a no-brainer there. But I'm delighted to hear that little flea Cody Waitman is back in business. I saw him train on Friday down at Skinner Reserve. He was bouncing around. And he's been declared to have a fitness test, but it looks like he's going to play. So imagine him and Arthur Jones zipping around our forward line. It's going to be a real...
Will he come straight in, Paul, Matty? Will he? I don't think he will. I wouldn't bring him in straight away. That's just me.
Right.
I would. He'd have to play VFL. How's that sound?
Good question. That's a question that's bouncing around the forum at the moment, Dougie, whether people think they should play him and not play him. I mean, Matty, what do you think? He's been out for how long, Matty?
Oh, well, he hasn't. He played in part of this match simulation 5 weeks ago, so it is definitely a risk having no footy under your belt. I just think what he brings, and he's a different sort of player. He's just got this spark and energy that maybe other players warm up into it. He just seems like he's able to switch, and I'd be playing him every day of the week.
You bring him straight in, Matty?
I would.
Yeah.
JJ's going right, isn't he, Paul? Matty? JJ's been okay down the back line?
Yeah.
Hey?
He's reignited his passion.
Like, I thought he was just about towards the end of the road. I'm thinking to myself, well, what Bevo going to do now? You're going to keep playing as a half-forward flanker, pinch hit goal, but just going back playing on a small backman, it seemed as he's been okay, hasn't he?
Oh, well, he's back in his natural habitat, and he can shut down. Now that he's played forward, he knows what is annoying to do.
Yeah.
So I think he's just tightened up. He played like on a Charlie Cameron, and he might have played on Bolton and even Dusty for a little patch in the Richmond game. But when we've got the ball, he's off.
No, he's okay, wasn't he? He's been okay. Yeah. Good call.
Boys, my bet is Waitman's sub for weekend.
Sub, you reckon?
Sub.
Yeah, right. Well, before we let you go, Doug, we'd love your call on this. So we've got obviously our next 4 weeks, and we'll revisit this in a month's time. We've got Port Adelaide, followed by Fremantle, both away games. Then we've got the Hawks, and we've got our favourites, the Giants. How many can we win out of those 4? You famously called it 4 out of 4. What's your call?
Well, the toughest one's the Port Adelaide game, boys. Yeah. Again, Freo over there, they're up. They got their backs to the wall, but I think we're better than them. We own one from a final last year when they got us in that second half, so we owe them one.
Right.
Will that come up? I don't know, but if you're a player, guess what? It's in the back of your cruet, and you know that it is. And we can get Hawthorn. I've got no doubt we can get them. They're a very young side. They might play for a half a game and a bit more, and they'll fall away, which we saw against Geelong a few weeks ago. And who was the last one we got? The Giants?
GWS in Canberra, Dougie.
In Canberra.
Where the snow is.
To beat them. We can win 4, boys. There's no doubt about that. That's been not just take the hat off, our Bulldogs hat off. Western Bulldogs can win 4 games. Make no mistake about that.
I agree.
Paul, you agree?
We got you down for 4 games, Dougie.
4 wins. Mark it in.
All right. We'll revisit this in 4 weeks' time, remember?
100%.
Well, wouldn't we love to go into round 9, having won 6 and lost 2, and just buoyant from that point. They're all winnable matches. We've got to play to win, but we've got the cattle. So yeah, that warms my heart to hear that. And go Dogs.
And I tell you what, boys, the shuttle, the Bevo knockers, they'll all be jumping off. Let me tell you, they all jumped on to pot him after round 2. Watch them jump off, and we're sitting 6 and 2. Woohoo!
So just on that, Doug, just before we let you go then, the pressure unwarranted on Bevo?
Well, I think so. Round 2 of footy, round 2 of a new season, and we caught Melbourne, a very good side, and now St Kilda on top of the ladder. Okay, we didn't play very well against St Kilda, but I think it was an early crow, wasn't it? Early crow.
No, it's
100% early crow.
It's just the emotional, response, and it's so small-minded to see a loss and then to sort of jump at shadows and find a fall guy and try and point somebody out. He's a proven champion coach, mentor, and he's able to flick the switch. And now suddenly we're 2 and 2. It's a collective effort from a club, and we've got to back our man.
Well, we know the Bont wants him, so he's the Rolls Royce, the Bont. So guess what? Follow the Bont, boys, and you'll be on the right track.
That sounds like a T-shirt to me, Dougie. Follow the Bont.
He's a star, the Bont.
Awesome. Well, Bulldog fans, that's all we've got time for. We want to thank you, Dougie, as always, for your wisdom and certainly for your optimism. We are absolutely 100% behind it.
Matty, Paul, very quick one. Well done to young Libba, 200 games.
Yeah, wow.
Fantastic. So good on you, Libba, 200.
Yeah, well done. What a champion.
Fantastic.
Well done, Dougie. Well picked up.
Go Dogs.
Cheers, mate.
Go Doggies.
See you, Dougie. Great
See you,
work.
Paul. See you, Matty. Go
See you,
Dogs.
mate. Thanks, mate. See you.
Red in my heart, white in my veins.